What we're urging is, rather than more tariffs and an escalation, both sides need to come back to the table. They need to get back to the point where we were, roughly 2 months ago. They need to finish this deal. And if they finish this deal, that'll be good for both near-term and long-term economic growth, particularly here in the United States. Two months ago, it looked like we were on the cusp of a deal between the U.S. and China that would have been very good for both economies. It would have dealt with some of the worst aspects of Chinese industrial policy, which, by the way, the president deserves credit for tackling. He's the first president who's been willing to take on their intellectual property theft and forced localization. That's long overdue, but it also would have reduced barriers and would remove the tariffs that have been imposed as a part of this process. Now we seem to be moving farther away from an agreement. In particular, it becomes an escalating cost for consumers. So if you look at the breadth of Chinese imports and the tariffs that have been imposed to date, in most cases it's on intermediate inputs, so things that manufacturers or businesses buy from China that they then use to make other things here domestically in the United States. We're getting to that last raft of tariffs where we're talking about things that you and I buy in a store, and that's going to be felt directly by consumers. There's much less margin to absorb those increased tariff costs, and this is going to be a significant departure from what we've experienced over the last year or so with respect to how tariffs impact not just the economy but American families. We don't know yet. It's still early. It's certainly causing businesses to relook at their supply chain and their structure, but that's obviously easier said than done, right? In many cases, you're talking about long-standing, complicated supply chains, relationships based on quality assurances and things that have been worked out over a significant period of time. You can't simply just pick that up and move it somewhere else, all right? You can't move on a dime in these situations. So I think what folks are really looking for is what's the long-term trajectory here? Are we addressing the bad industrial policies that China has? If so, and we're doing it in a way that ultimately leads to the removal of all these tariffs, that's good news and that's certainty. I think more than anything else, that's what American businesses are looking for, is a little more certainty about what the future looks like.